One, two, three, the lawn feed. Welcome back to the Lawn Feed Podcast. I'm Andrew. I'll be your host today. I'm here with just Chris. This is
What's
a little
up?
bit different episode for us. Vince is busy, life is busy, and today we're just kind of talking about fall. It is fall time for the cool season, guys, especially. This is the time. This is when you want to be getting out there and doing some important things. So we're going to talk about that today. Remember, we have a store. Hop on there, check some stuff out. We got an awesome code for you guys. I'll mention at the end. If you're listening, appreciate you guys. If you're on the road right now, stay safe. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you like our stuff. We really appreciate that.
Do you think anyone's mowing while they're listening to us right now?
Yeah, I've never actually considered that.
That's probably a really good spot to listen to the Lawn Feed podcast.
I should probably try to listen to our own podcast while mowing and see how enjoyable it is.
It's
But
probably
I hate listening to myself, so I'm going to hate it. So
you'll hate it, but I'm sure people might. So shout out to the people mowing their lawn while they're listening to the Lawn Feed podcast.
if anybody has ever done that, tell us. Would love to hear about your experience. But hey, let's get right into this. This is just a real casual conversation between Chris and I. We're just talking about fall. So, Chris, hey, we almost forgot about dad stuff.
You almost forgot about the dad
Dude,
stuff.
W's and L's, wins and losses. If you guys don't know, we do this. We'll just quickly go through what a dad win is and a dad loss for us in recent history. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and give us yours?
Yeah, we'll start off with the W, and then it'll turn out to be the L, or the repercussion of the L, I guess. Or the L will be a close follow. The W is my oldest started kindergarten. We have kept a human alive long enough where he can go to kindergarten. So that's a huge pat on the back to my wife and I. That's super awesome.
Congratulations.
Hey, we made it. We made it. We only
So many more milestones to go. But
so many.
Take it where you can get it, buddy.
But that's a big milestone. That's something that we've always talked about. And she's like, man, we can't believe, we're X amount of years away from kindergarten. I can't believe it. And then kindergarten's here. It's like, where did the time go? But that was pretty cool. First time being a part of the whole, and we're close enough to walk to school. So we walked to school along with everyone else who was close enough to walk to school. So it's like the whole neighborhood walked over there together. First day, everyone's dressed up. It's like, it's funny on that. Everyone dresses up on the first day, and then like the second day, it's like everyone's in sweatpants and shorts and stuff.
Right.
But
picture day's done.
Yeah, exactly. And that whole thing was just a surreal experience for us. So that was pretty cool and a big win. But what came with that was no more nap times that he was used to on daycares. And yeah, we had a 5-year-old who's got a younger brother who took advantage of nap time. So we're still in that crew. So that was a big change. Kindergartens go. So by the time Wednesday hit, like day 2, after Labor Day, tensions were a little high, right? At the Ope household, where everyone was just kind of on edge, not really knowing what to expect, and routines change, and everyone's flipped upside down. Tempers flared a little bit, and that's okay. That happens, but that's one of those things where one of the dad L's is just, hey, man, tempers flared, lost it a little bit, but everyone did. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that boat, but it was a week. We'll just have that, right? So a lot happened that week, and it was the start of the school season and all of that, and it's just all happens at once, of course. So it's fun stuff, good and bad, but mostly good. How about you, man?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. My daughter's been at the same daycare her entire life, and she's doing preschool this year for the first time. Well,
okay.
As you know, the listeners don't know, COVID hit my household again. All of us. And this time it wasn't all of us at once. It was one after another, about 2 days apart. So my daughter, or we got it the Labor Day weekend, and my daughter was supposed to start a brand new preschool. And like that Tuesday.
That's
So she
tough.
she had to quarantine with us, and then she ended up getting it the following Sunday. So she missed her first 2 entire weeks of her brand new school, and then had to. Yesterday was her first day. So I felt terrible for her. She's behind the curve, but
Yeah.
she's a social butterfly. She did great. But
Good.
yeah, so it's been an adjustment for us, the schedules as well, and like everybody has to wake up earlier, including my son who still goes to daycare. But then she also missed her first soccer game ever.
Uh,
She never played soccer in her life. Had to miss her first two practices, or first practice in the game, and then we threw her into her first game this past Saturday, and it didn't go well, man. She just hadn't seen a kid her own age in 2 weeks, hadn't been to school like everybody else. It was a nightmare, but I think she's going to do just fine. But along those
yeah.
same lines, my first win. So my son just turned 2 literally days ago,
Woo.
and yeah, and I swear to God, he grew up overnight, like
Not
that
crazy.
day. And we were at the store the other day, and I bought him one of those the smaller footballs. Right? We were at Dick's Sporting Goods, and he was just playing with every ball possible. I couldn't say no. So today he doesn't really. I mean, he throws toys, but he's never really thrown balls. And he's sitting there taking the ball with his right hand and throwing it to me, and catching it sometimes. And I played a game of catch with him like multiple times today, and
That's awesome.
it was awesome. It was just like, all right, this is really cool. um and then my loss is same thing as you, man. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. My wife and I worked 4 long days throughout the week, and we're off on Wednesdays together. Today's a Wednesday, and we usually have a full schedule of stuff we need to get done to be productive. And I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, man. I just didn't have patience for anything. And yeah,
Welcome to the
had,
club.
I had some unproud parenting moments so,
Guess what?
but
You're not alone in your boat, because I did it
I
too,
know
which means that's a sample size 2 of 2, which means other people do it too, which
it
is
still
cool.
doesn't make me feel any better looking back though, but
No.
it,
And
it
isn't
you
that the
know,
worst? Isn't that the
all,
worst when you get back and it's like, oh, I should have just been like an ounce more patient with that kid?
right. But the nice thing about talking about it like this though is I can take it to heart, and maybe next time think before. And that's the thing. I just don't think. I just react, and I've
Yeah.
always been that way. But
It's tough.
it is tough, man.
It's tough. Routines change and life flips up on, upside down, and
Hundred
it's
percent.
difficult to actually think in the moment. And that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't happen every time.
Right. And I stayed up too late last night. I think that was part of it. I just was on little sleep, so I
Yeah.
should get to bed here as soon as we're done. I probably
That's
will
all good.
actually.
That's all
But
good. You want to
but
talk
hey,
some fall furt?
yeah, dude. Let's talk grass. And because this is where we thrive, right? This is what we really
This is
like
it.
talking about. We don't like talking about snapping at our children necessarily. So let's talk about this. So hey, what are your things you like to do in the fall? That is the time of year for us cool season guys up
Yeah.
in the northern region to thrive. So talk me through your process, man.
Yeah, man, we're coming out strong out of summer. I don't know about you guys over in Michigan, but we came out real like probably in the past like 2-3 weeks, and I got to assume it's the same almost everywhere. We've been in a drought almost all summer, and we've gotten rain, we've gotten the cooler temps. Almost every lawn, even like the fields, are like dark green, and it looks awesome. And it's just like the grass is loving the temps. Like we've got temps in the low 50s, highs up in the 80s, like low 80s, where you got those huge temperature swings. It's like we're in prime time for us cool season lawns. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things to think about. And by the time this episode airs, it's probably a little bit too late for like a fall overseeding project, depending on where you're at. Like I'm up in Minnesota, you're up in Michigan. It's
We're kind of early in the schedule.
It's definitely too late in our areas.
Right.
But like if you're in like the central US, and maybe some of the southern parts still in cool season turf territory, maybe out west, you're probably in the middle or in the midst of overseeding, and kind of lawn renovation season. So that's obviously the first thing to think about. And that's hit or miss between, what your lawn is looking like and what your goals are and things like that. But like for those who are just getting like into it and like, hey, I just bought a house. I'm just starting to get into XYZ thing with lawn care and kind of taking it to the next level. I really got really just two like foundational must-haves for me. And this is just from personal experience, right? If you don't fertilize in the fall, I think you're missing out big time, right? Fall is that prime time season to get in a cool season lawn anyway. This is not the case for warm season or maybe even some grasses in the transition zones. But if you don't get your grass the nitrogen supplements and the phosphorus, the potassium, what it actually needs and what it's asking for, you're kind of falling behind. And the fall is where the good lawns and the great lawns are separated from kind of the rest, right? Especially when you come out of that spring and the snow melt and all of those different things. So I've always said this, and I will continue to say this. I don't really have an opinion. This is my personal opinion, but like doing nothing, doing like a basic 4-step fertilizer program and utilizing the fall and the winterizer of like step 3 and 4, like for the crap that they get for being like kind of just like basic fertilizer programs. Like if you just go out and do some of those, that's so much better than doing nothing.
100%.
Right. And like, this is where I don't really have a preference on what you do in terms of what products or brands that you get. Just go do something with it. It's got to have a high nitrogen count, right? Your lawn's asking for it, but go get something that says fall fertilizer or winterizer, and apply it at the right times and read the label and go out. You'll thank us later. That's the first big one. The second one, I've got Kentucky bluegrass and perennial ryegrass, primarily in my lawn, and I traditionally have that at about 3.5 inches during the summer. Really like where that's at right now, but that's got to come down. It's got to come down, a little bit before kind of that first real frost, the first real freeze. Kind of that last mow should be roughly at about like, I've always taken it down to like 1 3/4 to 2.5 inches. And if it's anywhere really above that, you come at risk with the snow. The weight of the snow, pushing that over, folding it over, just getting killed with like things like snow mold, those types of things. And just thinking about it from like a height of cut, something that's completely controllable, right? The lawn season's dying down. You might be worn out. Hey, I don't want to go mow the lawn or do all of these things. But just by doing something as simple as that, puts you in another category, in a better space for next season. Not dealing with things said you just left your lawn. So, between fertilizing and just being conscious of your height of cut and how short your grass is, there's a lot of things to kind of consider there, but really easy things that anybody can do to be in a better spot for next spring. But what are some of the things that you kind of focus on? There's a lot going on in the fall.
There is. I just want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned though. I did the 4-step program kind of thing for years, and I had good results until I started doing a soil test and started doing some of that. And I just put down like a winterizer fertilizer today, and I calculated out the rate that I was going to put a full bag down, and it was going to be over 1 pound of nitrogen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, ooh, not cool. And so I actually cut it in half. So I put down a half, and then in a few weeks I'll put it down. And then I'm going to do that. Do you actually do like full heavy doses, or do you cut yours in half? Or like, what do you like to do?
Yeah. So this is something that someone taught me years ago, and it's not necessarily about what's in the bag at the time that you should apply it. That's advertised for that bag. So for example, using your example, winterizer is probably the last one that you would apply.
I applied
in a 4-step program. Right. Yeah. And that's cool too. Like whatever. I'm in the camp.
I needed the potassium,
Yeah. It's all good. But winterizer is going to have more of that other stuff. It's not just going to be more like nitrogen heavy. It's going to have the other, items in there, the other macros and other things in there to help kind of have that last feeding for the winter and what it's about to be prepared for.
Right.
This might be the wrong way of looking at it. I've always been taught of it doesn't matter really how much you put down in like the fall or anything of that nature, yeah, you're going to go a little bit top heavy in the fall. But as long as you spread out the total amount in pounds per 1,000 over the whole entire year, that's kind of what you should focus in more on.
Right.
Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but that's what I've done and seen really, really awesome success from it. So naturally, from a sample size of 1 of 1, that's the right thing to do. But
Right.
no, I kind of break it up. I personally like spoon feeding, so I would rather, instead of take you know that whole bag's worth of recommendations and put it down in one application, I would probably split that up into 2 or 3.
Right.
That's just me though.
Right. I have found that granular fertilizer is kind of hard to cut in half or even less to, put a half a bag down on uh, 10,000 square feet. Like that's 20 pounds, 25 pounds. Like
Yeah,
that's not a whole lot of carrier to go down. So I
no,
find it really hard. And especially if your prill size is not very small, it gets pretty difficult. I wish Vince was here because you and him have had this conversation multiple times, but talking about potassium in the fall.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of these winterizers and fall fertilizers have high potassium because it's supposed to help with like winter stress, right? And
Sure,
prepare for winter.
defense,
But
yep.
yeah, but then Vince has mentioned that it can actually cause stuff like snow mold. Do you know what the whole theory is behind that?
There's a couple EDU studies on it. One in particular that he sent me, and I'll have to look at it to see exactly which one it was. I thought it was Purdue or maybe Penn State. It's probably Penn State because he's in Pennsylvania. Where there was like a case study or something that they did where they noticed outside of the control group that higher rates of potassium were applied and more snow mold happened to be there. Um, whether that was because of the higher potassium rate,
Sure.
I think was left undetermined. But yeah, there is a hot rumor that if you apply more potassium out there, that you are at a higher risk of snow mold. And I think that goes for, and like, really think that goes for anything. If you apply it, and this is such a devil's advocate thing of like, hey, here's what we recommend doing. But then on the other side, if you apply something and it's too much of a good thing,
Right.
you're probably going to have some negative effects in any category. But I I don't know enough about it to probably confidently speak on
Sure.
that. But I know that that's definitely a conversation, and there's definitely a lot of studies at it, especially at the extension level.
The bizarre thing is I had one more fertilizer application I was going to do last year, like mid to late October, and life just got in the way and I never did it. And it was
Yeah,
going to be like, higher nitrogen, higher potassium. I never put it down and I still got hammered with snow mold.
yeah, I got
So,
crushed.
so I still didn't put down that much potassium. And so I don't know. I think it was just flavor of the year. I don't know. It happened, man. It just, things happen. Sometimes you can't explain them.
We'll blame it on the
But
Great Lakes. It was the lake effects now.
dude, it's really funny you mentioned that because at work we've had some technical issues with some of our equipment, and we've had like people flown from other countries to try to fix it, and they've like literally said, "Oh, it's Lake Michigan," and we're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, because we're close to Lake Michigan, anyways.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
so you asked me what I like to do for fall. So first thing is I actually got hit with like grubs last year,
Mm,
and that was last year was the first year that like army worms were really on my radar. Like, everybody was talking about them last year because they were bad, right?
yeah.
They usually don't make their way up to Michigan. It's kind of far north for them to go. But I was out in my lawn and at nighttime, and I was finding these things, and I thought maybe they were, but I don't think they were. I think they were just grubs, but like sod web worms or something. But they chewed up some of my turf, and I did a lot of like renovation stuff last year, so a lot of that grass was newer, and so the roots didn't have a whole lot to give for these little
Right.
critters to chew on. And so I think that led to maybe some of the damage, and the snow mold did the rest of it. That's what required my spring mini renovation in my front lawn, which I battle that front lawn every year. I'm sure I'll do it again next year. um, but so I guess what I'm saying is don't rule out critters in your lawn, because I didn't see mine till late. It was like late September, early October, and I started finding these things. And there wasn't visual damage quite yet, but there was beginning to be. And then I think it weakened the turf, and
Oh yeah.
the harshness of winter just took over at that point. So be scouting. Don't let your guard down there. Even though we treat for them typically late spring, early summer, to prevent uh, it's a whole different cycle, right? So, I mean, what you treated for back then is not necessarily still treating. So, if you still need to go out there and do some after afterthought, treatments to get rid of what you already have, or if you want to put down some more preventative stuff, like that's an option too. But don't write those off.
I just saw a post about someone was posting about it today. I think it was if you mow, or if you mow, yeah, Andrew over here, where he's up over in my neck of the woods. He just got hit with them.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
ton of them.
And
Yeah,
and I know he just did an overseeding project too, so he's probably in the same exact boat where it's like that less mature turf, and it's just a headache, man. And you just forget about it sometimes.
yeah.
But they're still there. They're still chilling.
I actually have some product I'm going to put down just to make sure I don't have that issue this year. So I'm playing it safe because I've been burned once before and I'm not going to do it again.
No,
So
it's too soon. Too
and
soon.
now the next thing that I like to talk about is watering. You mentioned
Mm.
how we're finally getting rain. Everything's greening up. Even your neighbors look like they have a halfway decent lawn now because they finally got some water on it, right?
Yep.
And then same thing, like with you said, start to lower your height of cut down, right? I've been noticing, I mean, I've been watering because I did a overseed project and stuff, but I've been dialing that back, and I've been trying to dry my lawn out on days that I mow.
Mhm.
So it's not getting wet and clumpy. And like today, for example, I went out there at almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon to mow, and it was still damp. Like things are not drying out. The heat's not
No.
there. It's cloudy. We got some rain yesterday, so everything was still like more wet than just irrigation wet. So by lowering your height of cut down, that's going to help everything dry out a little more too. You have less canopy and shade, so that'll help what sun you do have dry everything out. But be very conscious of how much water you're putting down. I mean, it is cool season, like growing season, right? This is your lawn's still going to start growing whether
Oh, yeah.
you are watering or not. Mother Nature is going to be helping more than it was 2 months ago or a month ago. So be conscious of that, and don't be like me. Call if you get your sprinklers like blown out like for winterization. I always wait way too long, and then I call the guy. I have a guy that doesn't. He's great, and he comes over like whenever I ask him to. But like I always am like, I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it next week or then a week after, and I never do. Like those weeks, I don't even use my irrigation. So just be conscious of that winterization of your sprinklers if you're far north like us, and you get that issue. So be
Get the
thinking about
frigid
that.
cold.
Oh man,
Frigid
that's
cold. It's
last thing
coming
you
quick.
want, guys,
It's
is
coming
have
quick.
to tear up your lawn to repair pipes and replace valve boxes and all that stuff. Like that's cross my fingers, knock on wood. I've never had to really deal with any issues with that. But make sure you get your sprinklers blown out. Some people say they don't do it, and I'm just like, how have you survived this
That
long without having
doesn't
a
check out.
massive problem?
That
But I
doesn't
I
check
know some
out.
people that never do it, man.
In Michigan?
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
No, I don't
yeah,
buy it. Those guys
yeah.
are, yeah, they're,
They must have some like natural drainage or they got super deep buried pipes. I don't know what it is, but like, yeah,
man, no, that
dude.
doesn't check out. I've been
I,
here
I
for way too long to know that doesn't check
I
out.
had somebody at work tell me that, and I looked at them and I was like, "You do what?"
If you don't blow your pipes out and you're north of Missouri, email us immediately because I have questions.
And I have a guy that'll drive down there and do it.
It's unreal. Yeah, we know a guy.
No,
We know
so
a guy.
surprising. But hey, I mentioned I did a fall overseed. I'll just quickly go over what I did. I did just a dethatch, and I introduced some tall fescue into my lawn. I had those thin areas, especially in the front, and then my dogs destroy my backyard, and then my side yard is always struggling. So I did that. I'm hoping to not have to do any kind of like overseed next year. I would just like to be able to just not have to do a project in the fall. That would be absolutely awesome. I'll still have to repair all my dog spots in the backyard, but that's an every year thing. But if I can avoid doing the other sides of my yards, I'd really really like that. What did you do this year?
I started with a spring seed, which I would never recommend to anybody. Went through summer dormancy, which is fun. And then I capped off my backyard with an overseed project as well. And I'm in the same boat. I hope I never have to do another project again. But 2 projects kind of bookending the year, it's not great. But I learned something today, and it's called dormant seeding. I shouldn't say I learned this. It's a concept up here. And it's I don't know enough about it to really speak all too confidently of it.
Sure.
But it's effectively what it sounds like. You drop seed when your grass is dormant. And the idea is that the snow melt up here in the springtime, you're using that to effectively beat out the degree days that like outcompete the weeds. So like all of the degree days that you effectively have, it's over 55, you're going to get more germination time, and effectively it's going to be a good situation. Now, germination percentage is probably going to go down, as you would probably expect, but you're going to have kind of a successful kind of patch seeding. Now, you wouldn't do that for like a bare period, but like for someone who's trying to like overseed or do something like that, it's becoming more of a popular option, which is actually something super interesting. So I've got a couple areas that didn't come in all too thick in the overseed deal, so I'm going to try to maybe do that, but we'll see.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I overseeded on the lighter side of pounds per thousand of seed that I put down, and I have probably 20 pounds of seed left, so maybe
there you go.
I can
try it out.
I can definitely just do some patch spots, but maybe I'll do a little experiment.
It's only money.
Because I definitely know what areas are what areas are thin and what areas always struggle. So maybe I can try to get ahead of the game. And as you know, man, like that ground is soggy for the longest time after snow melts, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
And then you get the little random snow and sleet mix, and then the freeze again, and then it melts. So
and then we join the rest of you guys in like June.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Vince is already in the prime down in South Pennsylvania. Gosh, do you remember in the spring where he was like, I did like my 18th mow, and you're just like, I shoveled today.
I'm sitting in knee deep snow, so get bent.
Yeah, lucky guy.
You want to know what is fun though?
What's that?
We have a sweet promo code on our website for anyone still listening, and it's called Brad15. If you type in Brad15, you will receive 15% off any merchandise item, all of your order, store-wide. Brad15, apply it at checkout to receive the discount. So go over to thelawnfeed.com, click on the shop, or go directly to shop.thelawnfeed.com and shop away and elevate your mowing shirt.
And that is BRAD15 for everybody listening. Brad is kind of an inside joke. Actually, Jordan last week was on our show, and as soon as we got done recording, he goes, "Who's Brad?"
Brad is Brad. You know who Brad is. He is your neighbor who you compete with, and he's called
Oak's
Brad.
Fictional neighbor.
He's my imaginary friend who I talk to by myself. Everyone's got him. Don't even think you don't.
Yeah.
But that's
I created a Kevin
buddy.
this year. I need to bring Kevin back for another something.
Yeah,
Kevin's my neighbor that doesn't know much, but anyways, this has been constructive, man. This has been kind of fun just chatting. This is kind of like doing a live kind of thing. We're just two dudes talking about what we're doing with our lawns.
Mindless talk show about lawns and being dads.
Meanwhile, Vince is the one that should be talking about all this, and he's not here. But that's okay.
It's all good.
It's all good. We're just a couple of dads that like to take care of our grass. But hey, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button. Be safe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. All right.
Bye-bye.